people, man. It's your boy PJ. Today we back with another lit live video. Also back in the confessional. And we gotta stay lit, big dog. Shout out to all my everyday people who rock with me every day, man. We got another lit live for y'all tonight. Uh, Shout out to all the mods, okay? And shout out to everybody in the chat. I hope everyone gets the notifications. Of course, as you know, we do post multiple times a day, so those notifications come few and far in between. So, continue to support your boy, man, by checking out the channel. Thank you to everybody who is pulling up to the live. Make sure y'all hit that like button as you come in. If you're on vertical live, you hit those three buttons at the top and you will be able to select hit the like button, okay, or like the live. So go ahead and like the live. It will be very appreciated. You know what I'm saying? So we got a good video for y'all today, man. We got just Brittany. Now there's something about these Britneys that just make you want to go We on woke side of TikTok today, okay? We on the woke side of she, her, they, them, okay? She, her, they, them. If y'all already know where this is going, right? I don't even know if it's woke TikTok. I'm just talking. But technically, it's kind of is woke. Good news. Donald Trump wants us to get away from wokeness and forget about slavery. Okay. Like it never happened. But other than that, let's get into the video, man. I'm not about to hold y'all. Thank y'all for pulling up.
Part one of who did I marry? First things first, I have to say that I talk kind of fast. The second thing is there are a lot of big red flags. I ignored them and I have to take accountability and responsibility for that because I obviously played a role in being where I am right now. Third thing is I'm going to refer to them as the pronoun as they were in the story. So it will drift and I will keep you on track. Don't you worry. July 2018, I meet a vegan, tattooed, love is light, positivity stud on Twitter. We exchange numbers, and I basically let her know, like, hey, like, I'm just getting out of a relationship. I'm super, raw right now. And she's like, oh, it's no problem. Like, just spreading all of this positivity. Now I'm going to call my ex, Melissa. Okay. Me and Melissa talking every day. I'm just trauma dumping on her and she's just positivity. And even through all of that, she on the back end like, oh, what size ring do you wear? Do you ever think you could be married? Blah, 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 blah. Like all these different questions and cool. I'm like, I'm vulnerable. I'm like open to it. I'm like, whatever. Then through that time frame, she tells me like, oh, by the way, I've previously been married. I'm like, oh, okay. Like we're almost 30. So in my head, I'm like, maybe that's normal. Don't get too much into the details except for the fact that the girl kind of like robbed her blind and ran away. Cool. Got it. So I'm like, cool. We keep talking. So we sort of skim over that. And I decided that I was going to start looking into opportunities in Texas. Yes, you guessed it. Melissa lives in Texas. And it sort of made sense because I'm like, cool. I know her. I want to start over. So why not move to Texas? So I go and visit. I get there and the vibes are off. Like, we are just not clicking. And I'm like asking questions like, am I doing something wrong? And she just keeps saying like, oh, you ain't never been in love before. So you probably not used to what it really feels like. Like this is organic and this is how it should be. And, you're used to honeymoon phases and that doesn't exist. That's not a thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I leave, in my head, I'm like, maybe this is just like one of those awkward situations. I leave and get back to Florida and she calls me on my phone. She's on the phone on FaceTime crying. Oh, I gotta tell you something. And I'm like, what? And she's like, the reason things were off is because like, I'm married. And I'm like, yeah, like I knew that. Like, no, I'm in my second marriage. Okay. So now she's saying the reason that they got married was because the girl needed insurance. So she was like, oh, it was just supposed to be a short little 30-day annulment or whatever. And, we just ended up not going to court to get it fixed. Like, she don't even live here. I don't, whatever. I don't talk to her. Like, it's not even a real marriage. Like, we just did it for the papers. Boom, I bet you think the story is over, right? Because why would I stay with somebody that had 2 wives? Nope. Nope. Part 2, who did I marry? So you guessed it. She tells me that she's been now married a second time, one of whom she's divorced to and one who she's still married to. And I should run for the fucking hills. But no, I feel sorry for Melissa. Because I'm like, your first girl robbed you. And your second girl won't divorce you because what? Like, because now she's making these excuses on why their marriage is still continuing. So I'm like, whatever. My move was already planned. My company was already paying out for everything. So I'm like, cool. Like, I'll worry about that later. Because in my head, I'm like, she's making it seem like it's just like this paperwork situation, not like she's like, oh, I'm in a loveless marriage and now I'm moving on or something. It's just like this random thing. Now we're in October of 2018 and I'm moving to Texas. The initial plan was to live with Melissa, but luckily I had like a lot of, my company had paid for me to stay in a hotel until I figured it out. And like Melissa's spot was too small. First off, it was too small because it was too small. Secondly, we were just not getting along. And to be fair, I was hungry. She was a vegan. I wasn't eating meat. I was not in a good spot. Okay. I couldn't live there. So we were getting into these huge arguments. And every time at the end of the argument, I'd be like, listen, I'm just moving out. Like, I didn't want to do this. Like, I was trying to get to escape, but like, I had felt like I had already committed. Like, I committed, I moved down here, I uprooted my life. Like, I'm trusting this positive vibe to somehow mend me. And that wasn't the case. So that was on me. So I tell Melissa I don't want to live there. Long story short, Melissa convinces me to get a townhome with her. Not to buy, but to rent. Because her neighborhood had a townhome that we could live in. Cool. I'm like, fuck it. I'm tired of looking for this spot. We can have, if maybe more space will allow us a better relationship, whatever. I mean, it was just a lot. Cool. So we get the townhome. The movers are moving my stuff into the townhome and I'm furnishing it. I'm going to the furniture store and I'm furnishing it. Okay? Then she's giving me dates. She's like, oh, you need to have it furnished by this date because we're having a housewarming party. And I'm like, first off, I don't even know nobody down here in Texas. And secondly, okay, come with me to the store and pay for these couches. All right? So it's still my home. So I'm not going to sit on the floor or sit on a futon or whatever. Like, I have to get the stuff that I want. So I'm getting the stuff that needs to be in a house, like, lights and so on and so forth. And she plans this party. I don't know anybody. So this party starts, people showing up. I think I've only met one of her friends once or twice. One of them. It's a group of her friends. Y'all. She gets down on one knee and she proposes in December of 2018 in front of a group of strangers that I do not know, in a state that I am not from, in a house that I do not own. Part 1 of Welcome to part 3 of Who the Did I Marry? Yes, Melissa proposes. Yes, Melissa is still married. But I'll say this, the paperwork for her divorce had been filed at this point. And I know that because I helped file it. Because she's a self-taught dyslexic, or so she claims. Melissa oftentimes needs help with paperwork. So she proposes. And I just want to say we should normalize saying no in situations where we aren't sure. Because at this moment, I'm not sure. I'm like, I don't know if I want to marry her. But at this point, I'm in front of a group of strangers in a place, in a state that I'm not from. And I just felt like I had to say yes. Like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I can always dial this back. I can always tell her later that I don't want to be engaged, right? Damn it, Brittany. Why would you say yes? I know. I can't even explain some of the shit that I did, but, here we are. So, days move on. I start calling and telling people, because mind you, she hadn't contacted anybody from my side to say that she was proposing. So I called everybody that I, felt close with and was like, hey, like, I'm engaged. Everybody was like, nope. So basically, like, I'm going back and I'm telling Melissa, like, yeah, like, everybody, whatever. She's like, oh, you got to cut them off. They just don't like you. your parents are mad that you're gay, like just telling me all this stuff. And like in my head I'm like, okay, well maybe she's right, like all these people are saying no, and you know, whatever. So I'm like cutting people off, friends and family. And the more people I cut off, the better Melissa is to me. I cut somebody off and she be like, I'm so proud of you, I'm so happy that you did that, and you know, you're such a strong person. So it's like, okay, like I'm losing people, but I'm gaining strength in this shitty relationship. Now, previously, when we had discussed getting engaged and getting married and stuff like that, in my mind, I'm thinking like down the road, you know, a year, or I'm not really sure, but she had said something to the effects of like, if I get you a ring, you know, I'm hoping you could get me a truck. At the time, she didn't have one. She had like a sedan. So in my head, I'm like, okay, like a couple of years from now, like, or whatever, like, that's cool. You know, I'll do that. So she proposed on December 6th, I think. And she was already looking for the truck. Whereas, like, within a week, she was like, this is the one that I want. Already. So I'm like, oh, like, she was dead ass for real. Like, if she proposed, like, this is her expectation. So in my head, I'm like, okay, like, I got something. You know, it's like, I'm sort of just lost in the sauce right now. And I'm like, okay, like, I got something. So I should, you know, in turn, follow through for what I said. So yeah, I end up signing for her trip. So, boom. Right after that, like, I haven't even got my ring resized or anything. She's like, let's start getting ready to have a baby. And I'm like, like, it's a lot happening real fast. And like in my head, of course, like I want kids, but I wasn't expecting anything to be this fast. And I blame myself, because I'm like, how did I just continuously see all of this in my face and just like allowed it? So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm not really ready for kids. And she's like, listen, like, we're almost to our 30s. Like, you know, we want that fulfillment. And you say that, you know, like, you have, like, issues with, like, your mental health and all that stuff. Like, you know, I feel like kids would just, like, really complete you. And, like, honestly, I got to a point where I was like, yeah, you know, like, okay, like, I get that. At this point, we're going to the fertility clinic. And I'm using my insurance for the fertility clinic. I'm paying the deductible. I purchased the sperm. I furnished the house. I'm spending a lot of money, and like I'm also signed for her to get a truck. So at this point, like, I'm hemorrhaging money, but I'm not really realizing on the back end like how much money I'm actually spending. And in regards to money, like, it was no secret that I had like a really good corporate job. It was no secret that like my parents, you know, were well off. So, you know, like the concept of pulling out my card, it just wasn't like foreign to me, because I feel like it should be even. But like the hesitation of her doing it made me lead to have to do it. So we end up having 3 failures at the fertility clinic. And at that point, we decided to take a break. And I found out that I needed to have a surgery to remove a blockage in order to get pregnant. COVID happens. So at this point, everything shut down, shelter in place. And at this point, I feel trapped, because we are arguing, we're not getting along, we don't have nothing in common. And I'm telling her every other day, like, I want to call this engagement off. But you call your engagement off and you go in the next room and you have no choice but to stay there. And for me, I'm like, damn, like, I don't even know how to leave right now. And then I got to admit to everybody that I cut off, like, that I'm a fuck up. And so at this point, like, I'm going to her and I'm like, listen, like, we don't have nothing in common. And she's telling me, like, listen, this is like 90 Day Fiance. Like, we're getting to know each other. Like, real love doesn't just, it's not just this thing that you get along and all of this stuff. Like, she was making me feel like I was absolutely the worst person because I wasn't, like, loving her. And she's just acting like she's loving me, and I don't know how to accept it. So throughout that time, like, just a lot of time and space, we ended up having like an explicit conversation, and we were looking through websites for some specific stuff, and she ends up sending me a website that was like for trans individuals. So I feel like sometimes when people want to say something to you, like, they'll send you like a little mixed message and expect for you to say something. So I gave it some time, and I ended up going to her and I was like, hey, obviously before we decide to proceed with having a baby, like, you sent me this site, and like, I just want to check in with you and see, like, is this something that you like maybe haven't told me, like maybe you're open, like wanting to transition? Because for me, like, if you're wanting to transition, like, this is something you do before you have a child, so you can focus on you becoming a comfortable version of yourself before bringing a child into it. Like, that would be something that I would prefer. So
she's like, nope, would never do that, never had the urge, never felt like I, would want to be a man. Like, it's just, I'm a woman, I'm a lesbian, like, that just is what it is. It was very like, I'm telling you what it is, and we don't need to talk about it anymore. Bet. I asked the question, and then I was like, cool, we moving on. So I end up getting pregnant in July 2020, and pregnancy, that, like, I was really focused on being healthy. It wasn't too traumatic during the time of being pregnant. Around that uh,
She just gonna leave that part
January
out.
time frame, Melissa suggested that we get married. It's still kind of COVID, and obviously, like, I don't have any friends, and I also don't have any family, so it's not like I'm gonna plan any type of anything. I also didn't have a baby shower or anything like that, and so, okay, justice of the peace in the courthouse in a mask, and I'm, at this point, six months pregnant. Um, and it was just like really important that that we got married. And then, like, she was really forcing, like, changing my last name, and, like, honestly, I feel pretty strongly I want to keep my last name, never been interested in that, but it was just like really really trying it. Now looking back, it's like you was just trying to get stuff done before I had the baby. Okay, so I have the baby in May of 2021, and at this point, in the beginning, everything was pretty good. Like, when she was at home, like, she was helpful, but then COVID lifted, and it was time for her to go back into work. And luckily for me, like, my job was still allowing me to work from home. And at this point, I have really bad postpartum. I don't feel comfortable taking my son into a daycare, so I'm working from home and I'm taking care of him. And anybody that's a stay-at-home mom, more power to you. I am so proud of you. That is a hard job, and what makes it even harder was the fact that I had to work. And I'm not talking like I'm sitting on a computer or something. Like, I have a corporate job where I'm expected to be on calls. I'm expected to do a lot of activity, and I'm like dealing with my baby, and he's like colicky, and I'm trying to understand his sleeping patterns. Like, it was absolutely, it was very hard. And I'm like struggling, like, I don't have a village. I'm doing this by myself. And it's just like really, really tough. This. Let me tell you about this. This is specific, and I'm going to tell you why. I failed to mention that in the beginning, when I first met Melissa, they continued to bring up getting each other's names tattooed. Now, the person I'm talking about, I already told you, super tattooed, and, so it was just like, it didn't even seem off base for them to ask something like that. So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I guess, like, I could get somebody's name tattooed, like, especially if this is like somebody I want to be with. Like, we're in a day and age where you get a tattoo, you get it covered, whatever. But I had never had a name tattoo before, so I'm like, okay, like, this is a big deal. So fast forward. Long story short, we end up in a tattoo shop. Okay, she says that she's gonna get my name. I said that I'm gonna get hers, and it was like, cool, we'll get them in red ink. But when we get there, she only has she only claimed to have space for my initial, but not for my whole name. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, all right. And so I was like, I had already committed to getting the full name. So I'm like, okay, whatever, here now, let's get her done. Like, it is what it is. And so I get it, and it ended up being like bigger than I wanted. I wasn't really happy with it, and, like, honestly, I just didn't feel good about it after it finished. Like, it didn't feel like this love and, like, warm, oh my god, we just bonded in some way together. It kind of felt like weird. We get in the car, and I basically was like, damn, like, I'm really not happy. Like, I didn't expect it to be this big, and, like, at this point I had put it in a place where I didn't have any other tattoos, so it was like kind of, you could see it, and I was like, this wasn't really what I wanted, like, especially now knowing that you wasn't going to get my full name. Like, it sort of just feels kind of like, I don't know, I don't feel good about it. I don't remember the exact conversation, but in this conversation in the car, she proceeds to tell me that multiple other women have gotten her name or a variation of it before. I kid you not. I get the tattoo in the same day, and right after, in the car, she tells me that multiple other women have gotten her name or a variation of it. What in the cult? And, like, what's even crazier is, like, this isn't even a single crazy part of this story. This is nothing. But I really want you to remember it because it is a theme. It is a theme. It is a pattern. Hear me. Pay attention. Welcome to part 4 of Who the Did I Marry? I left off on the part that at this point COVID was lifting and I was still work from home with the baby and she was physically going into work. Now, the type of job that I have, like, it's not like a job where you're like answering phones or, have like a lot of solace. Like, I am expected to be on meetings 6 to 7 times a day. I have like a lot of data entry. It's a hard enough job without a kid. So with one, I was struggling. And then to mention that I also was dealing with postpartum, like I was just not doing good. And Melissa knew this, and I was very open about like where I was with everything. And at some point, she was like, what would it look like for you to just not work and just take care of the baby since you don't, want to take him to daycare and so on and so forth. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't imagine quitting a job without having another. And she was like, well, I could take care of the household. Like, you don't have to worry about that. Like, we're together, so I'm gonna make sure that that everything's taken care of. So she's working, and I'm a stay-at-home mom at this point, and she's piecemealing me money into the household. I mean, there was a point where, like I said, I don't like to ask for things, but it's getting to a point where it's like, hey, like, I don't know if you noticed, but we need groceries, and it's just like a lot of hesitation. So I'm still kind of paying for things using what I have, and at some point I'm like, fuck, I think we're struggling. Like, I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure we're struggling because I feel like there's like not any money being poured into the household outside of like the direct bills. So I decide that it's time for me to start applying again. So at this point, Melissa decides that she wants to get into a more corporate role as well. So we had a discussion about like places that we would be willing to move to, and we landed on Austin just based off of like the area and like the companies that are here. So she ends up getting the corporate job that she wanted in Austin, and I end up getting and accepting an offer to a corporate job in Austin as well. So it's time to move, and at this point, both jobs have said that they were not going to give relocation until we started work in Austin. So we had to front the cost of relocation. So I asked Melissa what she got on the move, money-wise, and she was like, nothing. I was like, you don't have anything? She was like, nope, nothing. So I have to be in office in Austin in 2 weeks. So I end up deciding to get a loan to front the cost of the move, and then I'd pay the loan off with my sign-on bonus and my relocation when I got here. Cool. Her company offered a week in Austin to be able to find a place to live and, to find childcare and all of that stuff. So we head down to Austin for a week to be able to find a place. So one of the first few places that we saw, we liked. So I was like, cool, let's put in an application like this is a spot that I like. So we're waiting on that application to go through, and that whole entire week, she's actually working in office at her job, and I am going around and trying to find a daycare for my son. At this point, we have like 3 days left in Austin, and I still haven't decided on a school, but I at least knew roundabout what I wanted. So we're in the car headed to the school that I thought would be the one, and I get a call from the real estate agent, and she was like, the application is not being accepted. It's not being accepted. Like, somebody's score is too low. So I actually have like a full panic attack, like had Melissa pull over type shit, like I was infuriated from the inside because now you didn't have the money for the move. I can't get into a spot in Austin. Like, I am not, this is crazy. So that night, I started applying to places by myself. And I'm telling Melissa, like, listen, I'm getting approved for spots. I'll just get on the lease. It'll be cool. Nah, she wasn't having that. No, we both need to be on the lease. We both need to be on the lease. We need to find a spot. And I'm like, no, like, it's just impossible. She was like, oh, there was a spot that's like more expensive in a different area. And like, maybe we could talk to the guy and he'd be like willing. Everything is telling me not to put her on the lease. Everything. And I'm like, all right, man, whatever. I end up calling the guy. We visit the spot and he was willing. But I would need to put down a $4,000 deposit. And I want to make it clear that I had to put down a $4,000 deposit. So at this point, the move has to be paid for. So the move-in truck, everything, the deposits have to be paid. I had to put down a payment into the school to save my son's spot. Like, this is not just some little coin. At this point, on the back end, I've started contacting the people that I cut off. I started contacting my friends. I started contacting my family. Like, I needed my village, because at this point, I realized that this was no longer something that I could, like, continue to maintain. Not by myself, at least. Like, I needed people. I needed people. I needed people. So it's time to move officially, and we're packing things up. It's a lot to pack up, especially with a kid. And it was the day before the moving truck came, and she was like, listen, I'll take the baby and the dog, and I'll go ahead and go down to Austin, and you could just be here with the movers in the morning or whatever. Anybody that's ever moved knows that, like, when the movers start picking stuff up, like, there is so much that has to be packed. So I'm busting my ass that night. I'm packing basically by myself because she already left. That morning, I'm packing up with the movers because there's so much stuff that hadn't been packed yet. I'm patching up holes on the wall. Like, I am doing everything to make sure that we don't have to end up paying anything to the renters that we were renting from. So I'm getting everything situated. So the movers got the stuff. I'm headed to Austin. Melissa calls me, and we get to a big argument because at this point, like, I'm just stressed and tired, and I'm just, like, going off. I told Melissa, man, you might as well not even unpack your stuff. Like, I don't even want you there when I get there. And, like, I was just done. Like, there was nothing, like, this was the moment that I realized that I could no longer be in a marriage with this person. This is awful. So I'm crying on the way to Austin. Like, I'm crying because I'm just overwhelmed. I'm stressed. And I'm calling all my family. Like, I'm calling my friends, and I'm just, like, telling them, I'm like, man, like, I have to apologize. Like, I fucked up. Like, whatever. So now we're in Austin. We're both working. The baby is in school. And we're just not doing good. At this point, I have already mentally broken up with her. Every argument was an excuse for me to tell her that I'm done with her. Period. So we moved in December of 2022, and at this point, it's like January, February. She ends up calling me one day, and she was like, I think I want to defeminize. At this point, she was, like, getting into the gym and was, like, trying to be, like, really bulky. So she was like, I think I'm going to defeminize. And that was my first time ever hearing of something. So she said she already made an appointment. And then she calls me after the appointment, and she's like, yeah, so, like, these are the changes, like, voice changes, all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, like, are you transitioning? And she was like, no, like, I'm not going to be a he, him. And I'm like, okay, well, like, are you going to go by they? And she was like, no, like, I'm a she, her. I just want to have, like, a better body. I want to just look better in the gym, so on and so forth. So I'm like, okay, like, I can't stop anybody from doing nothing like that. So she starts that process. And like I said, mentally, I'm already done with this. And we've had some really bad arguments up until this point. It's probably like this February, March time frame. We having a bunch of terrible arguments, and one of these weekends she ends up deciding to go to Dallas, and this person has, like, a lot of facial tattoos already, and that was, like, something we had like, specific places agreed upon. And they had asked me, like, before, like, oh, like, how would you feel about me getting more tattoos on my face? And I was like, don't do that. Like, you're already pushing it. Like, don't do that. She gets back from Dallas, brand new, ugly ass tattoo on her fucking face. Like, it was the ugliest thing I ever seen. And I was like, why would you do that? And I, like, went off on her. I was like, you don't care about me. You don't care about your son. Like, you look stupid. And at this point, like, I want a divorce. I don't want to be with you. And you could talk to other people. I could talk to other people. Let's just go. Or you can stay. And at this point, right, I have to be able to afford the place that we're living in. It's more expensive. So I'm like, listen, you can sleep in this room. I'll sleep in this room. We can watch the baby. And honestly, like, you could talk to who you want to talk to. Let's not be disrespectful, and vice versa. Like, I don't want to participate in this anymore. So at this point, we've decided we could talk to other people, and either person was allowed to date. So things started getting really interesting. Welcome to part 5 of Who the Did I Marry? I left off on Melissa and I deciding that we would date other people. This was around the February-March 2023 time frame. So around May 2023, I met who is my current girlfriend, Ashley. And it was just a whirlwind, love at first sight, no red flags, soft life. And it's continued to be great. Anyways, so I had not at this point given any context to like my dating life. So I get home from this date with Ashley, and I get home pretty late, and Melissa had said something about it, but in my head I'm like, get out of my business, really. And then the next day, I happened to have a hickey, and they asked me about it. Not even gonna lie to you, I lied about it. I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's from, but you know, what else? That next morning, I was in the baby's room. He's fussy. And I get a message from Melissa saying, hey, like, when are you coming out of the baby's room? And I was like, oh, I'll probably be out soon so I can cook breakfast, but I'm still trying to get him settled. And she was like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'll cook breakfast, I come out of the room about 6 or 7 minutes later, and she is going through my watch. And bruh, she is cutting the fuck up. She is cussing. She's calling me names. You a whore. You this, you that. Like going off. And so she's like storms out, got my watch with her, and she's just like irate. Prior to this, we had never gone through each other's things. Besides the point, she knew that I was dating. So this reaction to me was just like out of control. I remember calling Ashley and being like, yo, like this just happened, and like I'm shook. Like I don't know what to do. They were continuously calling my phone. Like they would call and I would answer, and they would like be screaming in my ear. Like, cause not only are they going through my messages with Ashley, they're going through my messages with my family, with my friends. Like they're going through all of my messages. So I'm feeling unsafe at this point. So I decided to book a hotel room for a couple of days. And yeah, like Ashley joined me. Like she was just a place of comfort. And also, like, not to mention, she was going through a divorce as well. So there was just a lot of things that were similar. So the week goes on, and I start getting these like crazy text messages from Melissa, like saying like, I need your ring, I need you to give me your ring, like I need to sell your ring, I need your ring. Like it was continuous, it was constant, and in my head I'm just like, what do you need in the ring for? Like what's going on? And she was like, oh, I bought you a BMW, so I need to get it back on the lot. And I already took it off the lot, so I need the ring, I need the money, I need the money. So she's just going off, and I'm just like, what the F are you talking about? Like, you ain't buying no damn car. So another week goes by, and then Melissa, like at this point, like I'm back home, but not very often. It's sort of like work, get my son, separate myself. Like we're kind of just like missing each other on purpose. Melissa ends up asking me like, can I watch, the baby for the duration of the week, because they was gonna go get some sticky socks. Now I ain't no professional, but usually when you get those sticky socks, you are not allowed to have your phone. But for some reason, somebody texted me the whole entire time, to the point where I was like, where are you? Because I ain't never heard of no facility that allows this. Like, you're doing a lot. Like, how are you getting whatever help that you need and continuing to text me and asking me all these questions about, oh, is our whole life is a lie and blah, 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 blah. Like, what do you, go leave me alone. Go do what you need to do to get through what you need to get through. Like, leave me alone. Me and Ashley continue to date, and pretty much like the environment at home was just hostile. Like they were constantly making comments, like just saying things. Like it truly uncomfortable. And I had asked them a 100 times, like, hey, you can move out, like I'll keep this lease, like you could go do whatever you want to do, or vice versa, but like this is just not working for me. So now we're in July 2023, and I go in to the courthouse and file for divorce. I file without a lawyer. I just file your regular paper. I filed to do no financials, and I filed to have the custody schedule that me and her had discussed and agreed upon. Funny enough, I wasn't asking for child support or anything, like just to split school, and that is it. Y'all, this girl goes and gets a lawyer So I get a response to the very easy divorce that I filed, and it was like, I was like, why would you get a lawyer? Like, there's nothing to fight about. And she was like, oh, well, you didn't mark out the child support line. And I'm like, you don't have to. Like, in the state of Texas, like, you get your custody, I get my custody. Like, it's even. So why would I mark out a state form, like, to please you? Like, what are you talking about?
So at this point, I'm on my search for a lawyer. Now, I want to pause the story for a second, and I want to add some information, and I need you to pay attention. Remember, I told you earlier in the video that my girlfriend Ashley at the time was also going through a divorce. Ashley's ex-wife Caroline filed for divorce in May, and in July, Caroline finds out that me and Ashley are dating. Now, if you think one ex is bad, imagine two. This portion is going to be interactive. Here you see me, and here is Ashley. We are girlfriends. Ashley is divorcing Caroline. Caroline has a sister named Kathy. I am divorcing Melissa. In July of 2023, Caroline and Kathy contact Melissa. They contact each other to swap information about the two of us to basically leverage their divorces and know more information. Now, I just want you guys to know, at this point, me in July 2023, me and Ashley do not know that Caroline, Kathy, and Melissa are communicating. We have no idea. We found this out later, and I'm going to tell you how we found it out, but that's probably going to be in like part 6. But at this point, it's August 2023. My lawyer sends documentation to Melissa letting her know that she had 30 days to leave the house. Because within this time frame between basically July and August, it was just like absolutely horrendous. The household was just unbearable, and it just was no longer a good environment for my child. At this point, she's getting ready to move out. I offered to her a bedroom set. I offered a bedroom set for our son. I offered, a lot of stuff because I'm like, cool, you're clearly like starting over a little bit and I have everything. So if you need some stuff, like I don't mind, donating it. So she declines. Oh, I'm getting all new stuff. I don't need your stuff. Okay. Next thing you know, she starts
what money?
Everything out the house. Anything that she bought or any gift she's ever given me, she sold. I had a couch in the garage because I bought a new couch when I got to Austin. That was the couch that I bought in the townhome. She's selling that in the front yard. Didn't even know. Got home one day, couch getting loaded up. But at this point, I'm not tripping because you know what? At least you're leaving. At least we can get, hopefully, this paperwork situated. Now that there's some space, we could just go ahead and be done with this, right?
Welcome to part 5 of Who the Did I
Now, welcome to part 6 of Who the Did I Marry? I left off with Melissa moving out. At this point, I think things are going to improve because she always talked so highly about being these great, amazing co-parents. I mean, in my head, I'm like, maybe she's a shitty person, but I do think she's a good parent. That's what I thought, and that does change. The first thing that happens is we're in litigation and we're asking for all this documentation from her and her lawyer, and they are dragging. I'm talking 3, 6, 8 weeks, just simple stuff. And they're just not answering. And she's also not helpful if I go to her and say, hey, can you contact your lawyer? Let's get this done. Let's get this signed. Let's be divorced. Let's have everything squared away. I'm not trying to drag this out.
Welcome to part 5 of Who the did I marry?
Welcome to part 6, litigation, and we're asking for all this documentation from her and her lawyer, and they are dragging. Like, I'm talking 3, 6, 8 weeks, just simple stuff. And they're just not answering. And she's also not helpful. If I go to her and say, hey, can you contact your lawyer? Let's get this done. Let's get this signed. Let's be divorced. You know, let's have everything squared away. Like, I'm not trying to drag this out. This costs money. And me and you both know that she likes to waste my money. So honestly, looking back, is it that shocking? Not really. Anywho, around the October-November time frame, I started getting these like messages from her saying, you know, I'm just having a really tough time and like maybe you and your partner can just keep him. Or, hey, would you guys be willing to move to California if I got a job? Like, she was playing this like, oh, I'm really cool with the fact that you and Ashley are dating and I want us to all be this like big happy family. And honestly, it was just like more alarming than anything, because it's like, if you can't take care of them, like, I will absolutely, by all means, take care of them. Early December, she started sending messages because at this point, my lawyer has finally let her know, like, hey, there's a lot of money that Brittany is owed, and I think Melissa thought that she was going to be able to get something from me, but like that wasn't the case. So she came to me and she was like, if you do this to me, like if you go after this, then I'm not going to have anything and I'm going to really be struggling. So if you could just like get off of it, because if not, like I'm going to have to let you keep our son for this duration of time and like I'll come back for him. Now, that is not the way it works with kids. You don't just get to go away and then come back when it's convenient for you. Being a parent is doing that shit through the good times and the bad, not just when it's convenient. But me being stupid, I'm like, cool, whatever gets this done. If getting them little coins from you is gonna cause you all this, whatever, like I don't really care, if we're being honest. Sign the papers, leave me alone. You know what time it is, my interactive board. At this point now, in mid-December, I find out that Melissa is dating a girl named Taurus, okay? I find out about Taurus through social media, and it was two particular things that stood out. One of the things is they were in the tattoo shop, and Melissa was getting Taurus's name, and Taurus was getting Melissa's name. Sounds familiar. Then there was a particular video where Taurus was calling Melissa her credit card. Now, mind you, me and Melissa just had this conversation about how she was like struggling so much and needed all of this help and for me to back off and all this stuff, right? So it's like, okay, I see now that was, you just trying to play me per usual. So I send Melissa a message and I'm like, listen, bro, like you clearly ain't got no money issues. You clearly got everything going right. So sign the papers. You got a girlfriend, and sign the papers. Like, why are you still trying to do this back and forth with me? Like, cause it's just not necessary. So January comes and I start noticing that my son was having like some transition issues, and then also that he was using mommy out of context. And like I said, I'm pretty good about noticing something and saying something. So I went to Melissa and I was like, hey, like, I know you have a girlfriend. I know my son is probably around her. So a couple of things. First off, can I meet her? Because I think as a mom, everybody wants to meet the person that's around their child just so everybody's on the same page. I also asked, hey, like, what is our son calling her? And they proceeded to tell me that they call her a nickname. And I do want to say, prior to any of this, I continuously would ask Melissa if Taurus was living over there. She was like, nah, she not living here. If I have any house changes, I'll let you know. And I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, we knew something was up, me and my girlfriend, because my son, normally, like, his nails won't be cut, his ears won't be clean, his hair would just be like, whatever. He comes to the house one day, bro. Hair braided to the back, ears squeaky clean, nails cut. I'm like, oops, somebody cooked in here. So I'm not mad at it. But once again, I go to them and say, hey, like, I think that it's beneficial for me to meet your partner. Now, mind you, she's met Ashley multiple times, and not to mention also tried to fight her one time, but we won't get into that. Or maybe I will, but we'll see. Now, on the back end, I also noticed on like pickups and drop offs or parent teacher conferences that Melissa was starting to look very non girl. Was starting to just like the voice was deep. Like I noticed like some little chicken scratch on their face, and I was like, oh, okay, like something going on. So I asked, hey, I don't want to be offensive, but like, are you transitioning? And they would always tell me no. I'd ask this question probably every other week because I knew I'm not stupid. Like I see it. Like it's dead ass in my face. Like why would you just lie blatantly like that? Not to mention would constantly be like, oh, our son accidentally called me daddy today. LOL, LOL, LOL. And I'm like, okay, well, correct it. And I would ask them again, like, are you changing your pronouns? Like, are you letting him call you that? Are you correcting him? So on and so forth, because it seems really odd because we don't have that problem over here. So early or like mid-February, Melissa comes to me and says, my pronouns are now he and him, so respect that, so on and so forth. So I'm like, okay, good for you. Are you gonna change your name or what my son calls you? Because we had a specific name that he called her. Nope, everything's the same. I'll let you know if there's any changes. Don't worry about it. It's just he, him at this point. Okay. So I go pick up my son after spring break. So you're talking like 12 days later, maybe. And I pick him up and he says, bye, daddy. Like, because at this point, Melissa is still outside putting him in the car. So my son was like, bye, daddy. And I was like, no, no, no. Like I corrected him with the name that he had normally been called. Listen, I am in no way, shape, or form a judgmental individual, but I feel like if that's something that you're gonna do, you discuss it with the person that you're co-parenting with. It is a really odd situation to say that within 2 weeks, you've gone from a term that my son has known forever to daddy, like specifically daddy. It just felt odd to me, but maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. At this point, they still won't sign the papers. They're now he, him, still no name change, so they're Melissa to me. And around the just bunches of issues, at this point, I know Taurus lives there, so on and so forth. Won't let me meet her, same old, same old. Around the May time frame, they finally tell me that their name is going to be Melvin. And then they also proceed to show me photos of their top surgery. So they were already getting their gender affirming surgeries, which interesting enough, the gender affirming surgery happened between the 12 days and my son calling them daddy. So very fast transition, if you will. So I want to bring my board back out so we can understand. At this point, Melissa is now Melvin, he, him pronouns, and their girlfriend is Taurus. It's around the July 2024 timeframe, and they still won't sign the papers. They still keep dragging things out. And I keep asking God, like, bro, like, why won't you just let this hoe sign the papers? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Taurus, Melvin's girlfriend, ends up calling me. Welcome to part 6 of Who the Did I Marry?
I know you guys are wanting part 7, and it's Saturday.
Welcome to part 7 of Who the Did I Marry? Tired edition. Okay, we left off with Taurus calling me. I want to bring up the board for a second. For clarification, Melissa is now Melvin. Melvin dates Taurus, and now Taurus is calling me. Okay? So at this point, I said call, but she DM'd me on TikTok. Okay, so she DMs me and she goes, I just want to apologize because I was around your son and I should have done more to try and meet you. And, you know, every time I tried to meet you, like I even tried to Zoom call you, they would tell me that you were gonna find me and beat me up and throw acid in my face and try and kill me and all this stuff. Like, was basically scaring Taurus. Melvin was scaring Taurus so that Taurus would never come to me. Because Melvin knows that I am Melvin's worst fear. I am the truth. I am willing to expose Melvin. So Melvin painted this picture for Taurus so that Taurus would stay away from me. But Taurus didn't, and she came to me after her and Melvin broke up, because when you start piecing all this shit together, you realize that Melvin is a fucking liar. We continue to DM, and Taurus tells me how she seen my Twitter. So prior to these TikToks, I would subliminally tweet about my situation to just kind of give like a pre-warning to people, like, hey, be careful. And I had tweeted something about being the third wife. I tweeted something about this person scamming me. And Taurus told me that she actually saw those tweets and started doing her own research. And Melvin had never told Taurus that he had been married. Taurus knew that me and Melvin had been married, but had no idea about the other two wives that he was married to. At this point, we're talking back and forth, and she basically was like, oh, I did want to really give you a warning. And the warning is that Melvin, Caroline, and Kathy have been stalking you for over a year. With receipts, by the way. Taurus is not just telling me this stuff and not giving receipts. When I tell you she was getting down with the receipts, she was getting down with the receipts. Kathy, Caroline, and Melvin were swapping pictures of our children. They were talking about our whereabouts, where we are, what our schedules are. Oh, how can we make this difficult? If we change this schedule, then Ashley and Brittany won't be able to do this at the same time. Like, they were doing this for over a year. And it made me realize that this duration of my super long divorce was not just purely based out of like this one person being stupid. This is a group of people. I realized in this conversation with Taurus that I don't know Melvin. And imagine being in a relationship with somebody and not knowing them, but imagine having a kid with somebody and not knowing who they are. Throughout this whole entire situation, that is the time frame that I was like, this is not a fucking game anymore. And these people are dangerous. They're dangerous people. I could go days for what Taurus told me, but I'm gonna stick to the script, right? After talking for a few days in TikTok, I think we were just building that trust. We exchanged numbers. And this is where the part of the story gets like really hard for me. Earlier in the story, I told you all that my son, there were time frames where I noticed that he was having transitional issues, and I would oftentimes go to Melvin and say, hey, son's not sleeping good. Like, what's the routine over there? Are you having these issues? Because like I am sort of a hoverer as a mom, but I'm very specific about making sure that he's okay. And I asked, hey, does he have a bed? Yes, he has a bed. Does he have a room? Yes, he has a room. Does he have this? Yes, he has this. He has that. He has this. Making it seem like it's perfect over there. So I'm like, cool. I only need to just address what I have going on here. Taurus also lets me know that on the very first day that she ever met my son, Melvin made my son call her mommy. So from day one, my son never knew her name. She was mommy. Something told me to ask Taurus a question. And I said, hey, you were around my son. I want you to tell me a little bit about what that was. And, does my son have a room? Does my son have a bed? What's the situation over there? And she said, I was hoping you didn't ask me that. As a parent, I would sleep on the cold, hard floor if that meant that my child got somewhere to sleep. I would eat nothing if it meant that my child got to eat. The stuff that Taurus told me and the pictures that she showed me broke me. It broke me. Because I had trusted Melvin to be at least a good parent. I don't give a shit about how you treat me. But how you treat my child, there is I will never, ever forgive Melvin for that. Ever. She also told me about how on my son's birthday that Melvin couldn't even be bothered to get my child a gift. Couldn't even be bothered to get my child a cake. And when Taurus second guessed him on it, he iced her out all day, ignored her, forgetting, because she went and got him a gift. She went and got him a cake. She made sure his nails was clipped. She made sure that his hair was done. Taurus was taking care of my kid. And she knows that I am forever thankful, because at least I knew then that he was being taken care of. Taurus also lets me know that Melvin doesn't just have one job now, he has two, because he has to afford his lawyer and he has to afford his gender affirming surgeries. So the time frames that Melvin did have my son, he was gone. He was working his job to pay for, to be a man. So after this, I called my lawyer. And funny enough, my lawyer goes, "Oh, hey, I was just about to call you because Melvin is ready to sign." Whole year, and all of a sudden, Melvin's ready to sign, right? Because Melvin knew, right? Melvin knew that Taurus had called me at this point, right? So I tell my lawyer, no, I'm not signing. I'm taking them to court. She was like, "What's going on?" I sent her everything. I told her everything. She looked at the documents and the pictures I sent her, and she said, "Okay, we're going to court." I said, "Yes, we are." She said, "If you could get Taurus to testify, your case will be very strong." And I said, "Okay." So I called Taurus and I said, "Listen, you've already given me more information and done more for me than I could ever ask. Will you be willing to testify with me in court?" Taurus said, "Yeah." So I get off the phone with Taurus and I call my lawyer. I let my lawyer know she's willing. My lawyer said, "All right, I'm gonna send this message to Melvin's lawyer." Melvin's lawyer immediately calls my lawyer and says, "What's going on? Like, why are y'all going to court?" Because in his head, he's like, I'm just a lawyer and I'm just trying to get this paperwork signed. So to me, it sounds like he knows it was being dragged out. So the simple fact that now I'm ready to go to court, the lawyer's confused. So Melvin's lawyer is confused. Shocker. And my lawyer tells him, this is what happened. And I'll put it this way, Melvin came to court with no lawyer. So at this point, Melvin is now aware that I am taking him to court and that I'm not signing. Melvin is now aware that his ex-girlfriend Taurus is now testifying on my behalf. So at this point, rats are starting to scramble. Welcome to part 7 of Who Did I Marry? Tired of
Who the F did I marry? And no, this isn't an episode, but I wanted to give you guys an update. Since doing this series, I have heard from numerous amounts of women that have dated Melissa/Melvin. In this update, I'm going to be referring to Melissa as she, since at this point, a lot of the women that I've talked to have talked to Melissa as a she. First off, I talked to the second ex-wife, the one that I talked about in part 1 and part 2. Melissa had said that she married that ex-wife because the ex-wife needed insurance, right? The ex-wife has clarified that she did not, in fact, even have Melissa's insurance, and that's a fucking lie. And basically, they got married under the assumption, like anything, that they were in a relationship, and Melissa kept pushing on the concept of having kids with the second ex-wife, and the second ex-wife did not want that. She said they didn't want it. They were vulnerable when they met her. They came down and moved in with her. Same story. Got engaged. Same story. Got married. Justice of the peace. Same story. Didn't change her last name. Same story. And then when Melissa realized that the second ex-wife wasn't going to give them kids, basically already started throwing her away. basically, so Melissa's on the back end finding somebody else to talk to because now she can't get supply from the ex-wife. Y'all, guess who she finds to talk to? Me. So before the ex-wife later found out, after she found out about me later, that she was moving out of their house, or still, like, they were still breaking up when Melissa met me. And she had the same story as me, where it's like you met this person at your most vulnerable place and they just like lied this whole story up for you to feel comfortable, and then later on use that same story against you, make you feel like shit, put you down, make you feel like you can only be with them, don't talk to your friends, don't talk to your families, only love me, only care about me, but I only want you unless you're giving me something, and if you're not giving me something, I don't want you. Oh, and maybe that's just a coincidence. Nope. I obviously, you guys know, am good friends with Taurus, the ex from part 7. And same story. Same story. Moved her in, told her, hey, I'm still married, but, you know, I really want to be with you. We can get remarried. I'd like to have another kid. Are you willing to have a kid? And, like, you know, it went the way that it went. And then, obviously, you know, they're not together, and I can't tell you the rest without telling you everything else. But guess what? There's another pattern, because after Taurus, there's somebody else that's willing to catch the supply of this person. And what's crazy is, at this point, I'm doing my best to warn as many women as I can, and they have still managed to be with, I don't know, 4 to 5 people in between the when the divorce started and when the divorce ended. And not only that, a majority of these women were lied to about the fact that Melissa was transitioning. A lot of them said that Melissa was even on dating sites under the lesbian tab, and then trying to make it seem like she was still a lesbian, but was on the back end transitioning, and would make all these comments about transition, and everyone's like, yeah, like, well, we like girls, and she'd be like, oh, you know, haha, just like gauging it. But she was transitioning, and everybody, no one knew it. And the sad part of this story is, the women that I talked to met my son. All of them met him. Like, it, you know, it's really sad, and like, obviously, like, I know it's upsetting. It's extremely upsetting to me. But not only did they meet them, they seen the living arrangements that I spoke very poorly on. They all were like, I did not fuck with it. It was not cool. They talked told me about how bad Melissa talked about me, not just like in front of them, talked down on me, made it seem like I was gonna kill them or I was crazy. I'm talking multiple different women. Multiple different women have met my son. And I know you guys have combed through social media. You're not going to find pictures of my son on the internet or anything like that. All these women talk to Melissa for I don't know how long, not very long, and then meet my child. Meet my child. And based on the synopsis, it seems like my child is the pawn to make people feel comfortable. Oh, look at me. I'm a parent. Look at me, I'm a parent. You can't do nothing but trust me because I'm a parent, right? Look how good of a parent I am. Look how good of a parent I am. Because Melissa's only a good parent if somebody's watching, right? Because that's what narcissists do. This is all for fucking show. All for fucking show. To sit here and not even care about what you do and how that affects your child, you don't give a fuck about him. And you don't give a fuck about these women. And I'm happy that these women are coming forward and telling their story. And honestly, I hope that more women continue to tell their story about Melissa/Melvin, because it's not going to stop. He's not going to stop. He's not going to stop until he finds a supply. He's not going to stop until he finds another wife who's willing to have another kid, who's not going to be strong enough to leave. Because let me tell you something. Every single woman that I've talked to, or just about all of them, we all ended up in this place of being so mentally unwell, so fucking, like, just really struggling to survive. And that person preyed on us. Bad. Bad. This is not a little game. This is not like some video or some fun story for clicks. This is people's real life. And, like, if you are dealing with the Melissa/Melvin or whatever, you need to protect yourself, watch for the signs, and do what you can. Please don't be like me and have a kid with a fucking narcissist.
Just remember.
Welcome to part 8 of Who the Did I Marry? So I left off on the part that Melvin is now aware that they're going to court, and Melvin is now aware that Taurus is going to be testifying on my behalf. So of course, what does a narcissist do? He starts trying to make and do little things to try and scare everybody involved. So like I posted on the last video at the end, like a message where they're talking to Taurus's mom about like, how could she do this to me? Now I'll have to actually be a real parent. Like, that's crazy to me. And if you haven't seen it, please go look at it. It's ridiculous. So at this point, me and Taurus.
Hold on. Let's see if that was on.
Just remember.
What's she talking about?
Who the F did I? If you are dealing with the. Welcome to part 8 of Who the Did I Marry? At the end, like a message where they're talking to Taurus's mom about like, how could she do this to me? Now I'll have to actually be a real parent. Like,
I didn't see that message.
Crazy to me. And if you haven't seen it, please go look at it. It's ridiculous. So at this point, me and Taurus are building the case. Or I really don't have to build a case. I have a case. So really, she's just giving me as much info as she has. And let me tell you, it was crazy how much info she had. But like, I really wanted to focus on the transition thing because it was like just a lack of stability. And the thing that was crazy is like, even in the relationship with Taurus, I'm not going to transition. All I'm going to do is get top surgery. I don't want to transition. I don't want to be a she, her. And like within a week was like, just kidding. I'm gonna make the rest of my gender affirming care, schedule out. Like, just like overnight, like just like on some crazy shit. Like, it was just really weird because I'm trying to understand, like, why are you trying to hide your transition? If this is like your true self, why are you hiding it? And like, why are you being so secretive about it? No one cares about you transitioning. Everyone really just wonders why you can't be honest, why you gotta scam women and saying that you're not doing it when you are. Like, if you aren't comfortable with transitioning, like maybe you don't actually want to, and maybe you're just doing it for the attention. I'm not sure. Who knows? I don't know. So we get to court, and of course, I am with Ashley, my girlfriend, and with Taurus, Melvin's ex-girlfriend, and they are there to, obviously, for support, but also to testify in the event that I need those people to testify. Cool. Y'all, imagine outfits. Melvin comes to court with Caroline by his side. Caroline is Ashley's ex-wife. I don't have my board, and I'm really sorry, but I want to get this done for you. So Melvin shows up with Caroline, and cool. We're in the courtroom. The divorce is agreed upon. Obviously, Melvin, who was representing themselves, is wanting to keep this, keep everything the same, and obviously I'm going in there vouching for something different. So obviously, everyone testifies. Taurus testifies. Even Caroline gets on the stand talking about absolutely nothing. So I don't really understand what their whole thing was, but like they did not come to court ready to fight. They came to court ready to try and prove a bunch of stuff that didn't matter. Like, this is not civil court. And what was focused on for some reason is the main focus in court was Melvin kept saying something about like, oh, well, I'm about to be fired from my job, and Taurus and Brittany have something to do with the fact that I'm getting fired from my job. Mind you, this case is about something completely separate. Everybody is confused. My lawyer's like, what is she talking about? The judge is like, what are you talking about? And she's basically like, just keeps asking us, like, that's all she's worried about. She's not worried about my son. She's not worried about any of the other things we're in there for. Also, in court, they had said like, oh, like, I'm gonna have to move from the place that I'm currently living because my lease is up. And so, so everyone's like, okay, like, well, where's your new address? Oh, I don't have one yet. Okay, like, whatever. And, oh, okay, so it seems like you might lose your job. Like, do you have another job? Nope. Okay, cool. So court ends up, like, it was focused on so many other things other than what it needed to be. And I'm just happy, like, I had a good lawyer who, like, focused on what was important. So, boom, court goes as expected. The judge makes his judgment.
You're scared.
And the next day, so we're good. We're happy. The next day, I'm out, and all of a sudden, I get a call like, yo, like, your ex is making and doing, like, some threatening stuff on TikTok. And I'm like, okay. So I get on there, and Melvin is in there talking about, oh, they got me fired from my job, and whatever, and trust me, I'll figure it out, and they have jobs, so I wonder what I'm gonna do about that, so on and so forth. Now, mind you, I know a lot of y'all work. You can't just get fired from a job without cause. Like, whatever you did is simply your business, but like, take accountability. Don't blame anybody for your demise. Then they were on there saying, oh, and the reason that I got the new schedule that I got is because they're transphobic. Court system is transphobic. You know what I mean? Like, that is why. And like, mind you, anybody that's ever been in any type of court when it comes to their children, you not just losing time because the other person is like, you got to have a reason. You got to have a good reason. Now, at this point, we had already noticed some things, but Ashley's daughter, who is Caroline's daughter, ends up, she's older than my son, so she could talk a little bit better, and ends up telling us that, Melvin and Caroline are in a relationship, and that Melvin lives over there. Even to the point was calling Melvin daddy. Like, bruh, wild. Now, what's crazy about this is this person, a mother, sits in court and sees the conditions that, and sees the testimony that we give, and also sees the testimony of the girlfriend, where she is saying, I do not trust this person around my child. I do think that they are not in a position to be a parent. They aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and they are unstable. Like, you're watching this as a person and you're just going along with it because you guys probably have heard about this. Narcissists have these people that ride down for them called flying monkeys. Now, flying monkeys, because they hate you, they believe everything a narcissist says. It doesn't matter how bad it is or what this narcissist is doing to you, they're okay with it because they want to believe so badly that you're this awful, terrible person. So at this point, Melvin is living and presumably dating Caroline, my girlfriend's ex-wife. Now, honestly, good on you. But it just proves that the scam is still alive and well. But honestly, they've kind of found the perfect person to scam, right? Because this person hates me just as much as they do. So it's just like perfect, right? They could both sit there and talk shit, and like, they're okay with their relationship being like that. And like I said before, good on you. But I do want to point something out that I think is crazy that anybody would be willing to allow. Anybody that knows who I'm talking about can confirm that this person, Melvin, who is black, has only ever dated white women, mixed women, Asian women, anybody that looks different than they do. Because honestly, there's a lot of self-hatred in there, right? Like, this person hates women, they hated being a woman, and they hate themselves. Melvin has found him a dark-skinned woman that has everything that he needs as far as resources. So guess what? On to a new scam. This is going to be the last video. Hopefully nothing else happens. But I want to say this. I am so happy that I've done this. Like, my moms out there who are dealing with a narcissistic co-parent, I commend you. Never stop fighting. Never stop trying. And if you see people with narcissistic qualities, call them out. Leave them. Go away. Leave them where the fuck they're at. Try to use your intuition. Friends, if you see people that are, all of a sudden your friends are disappearing and they're dating somebody weird, fucking say something. Don't leave them in the dark. Like, try it. Try your best and keep going for them. We need community with each other to stop things like this. Once again, I just have to thank you guys, because I was nervous that everyone was going to come at me and be like, how could you be so fucking stupid? But honestly, I have gotten so much grace from you guys, and that was a source of healing for me too, because I blame myself for being in this situation, and I sometimes forget that I was a victim in this situation, and I don't like calling myself a victim, but I was preyed upon, and I have to give myself grace, and I'm really thankful to everybody that's listened. Love you guys.
Ladies, if you got 14 women, hey.
All right, everyday people, we not done yet. Let's hear. We got more. Hold on, cause it's about to go down. I think it is. Part 7, part 8. Thought I had more parts.
I have never felt. Okay, I mean, so if you're new here, if you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support. A little less than a year ago, the court mandated them to pay child support, healthcare reimbursement, and medical bill reimbursement, and you guessed it, $0. But I just want to say, I married a woman. I am now engaged to a woman. I am a lesbian. The audacity to have a baby daddy or an ex-husband is crazy. Because I've done so many twists and turns to avoid having to deal with men. And now, not only do I have to deal with a man, I have to deal with a deadbeat man, with a bum man. You could have reinvented yourself to be any man you wanted to be, and you chose to be a deadbeat man? What? That is crazy to me. I have no choice as my son's bio mother and primary parent to be absolutely his everything, but the audacity of you to walk around acting like you're dad of the year, but you can't even give a cent to pay for my son's daycare, a cent to pay for the food that he eats, a cent to pay for his medical bills that he does have, is wild. If you're going to walk around and be a man, be a man. Be a man. Actually, don't be a man. Be a parent. Be a parent. There is no way that you think that raising a child is free, because it's not. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support. I wanted to piggyback off of yesterday's TikTok and give a little bit more background. I do have a story time on my page, but some of this information dates that. Did I know they wanted to be a man? No. Prior to having a baby, I asked them multiple times if they would ever transition or think about transitioning, because they were masculine presenting, and they were like, no, not my journey, never thought about it, wouldn't do it. I would have not had a baby had I known they wanted to transition. I would have not stayed in that relationship had I known they wanted to transition. That's just not my ministry. So I have a baby. We end up moving. When we moved, they told me that they were going to defeminize. And I was like, okay, why? And they were like, I want to bodybuild. I want to be strong. I want the body that I want. And I know that I'll get that if I defeminize. Cool. I asked them, are you going to transition? Are you changing your pronouns? And they were like, no, not transitioning, not changing my pronouns. She, her. Cool. Divorce happened shortly after. This divorce is long, by the way. You're talking 2 years of just chaos. Basically, during that time frame, obviously, we're.
By the way, just to update y'all, just so y'all don't think that she just recapping the whole story. That story that she gave up to part 8 was all the way back in February. It is now August, and she's doing the update.
We're, swapping my son and stuff like that, and I'm noticing that they definitely are looking manlier than usual. And I kept asking them, hey, are you gonna transition? And then they would always be like, oh, our son kept calling me daddy, ha ha ha, lol. And I would be like, okay, well, are you gonna transition? That's just weird to keep pointing out. No, not transitioning. I correct him. The school came and was like, oh, he is saying daddy. And my ex was like, well, I went to the school and was like, no, not transitioning, not a thing. Please correct him. We're working on correcting it. Cool. Time starts to go. Okay, so this is how I found out. I picked my son up one day, and he was standing behind me, my ex. And my son said, "Bye, Daddy." And I said, I'm like, "Hey, yeah, like, no," like correcting him with the term that we called my ex. And my ex looks at me and goes, "No, he can call me Daddy." So I get in the car, we drive off, they send me a message. "Oh, just to let you know, I am he, him, and I go by this now." Or no, didn't tell me their name. "I'm he, him now. You can address me as such. I've already let the school know." Okay, you didn't think it was important to let the person that you co-parent with know? Like, this is so weird. And like, my son was so confused. It was overnight. So, this is the crazy thing. After my ex was dating a woman and they broke up, that ex came to me and testified on my behalf in court and gave me a lot of background information about this transition. So basically, around the time that they met, which was probably like, I think, I don't want to tell the dates wrong, but I guess the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, she told me that they were going to do top surgery. At that time, she asked him, "Are you going to transition? Are you going to transition?" And they were like, "No, I just want top surgery because I want this specific physique." Not only did he tell that to the ex-girlfriend, he told that to multiple women that he was dating. How do I know this? Every woman, every ex-wife, every ex-girlfriend, best friends have all reached out to me and told me this. I'm not just assuming this. So the best friend ends up telling me, "Hey, like, we helped with the top surgery, and during the top surgery procedure, they end up telling us that they are going to transition to he, him." This is like within a few days after having top surgery. Cool. Everybody was super confused. Next thing you know, they are just, "Oh, I'm he, him." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what's your name?" Wouldn't give me a name, nothing. I literally had no idea that this transitioning was happening. All I know is that my son is confused. I have no idea what's going on. And later I find out that they were in so much debt trying to afford gender affirming surgeries. This brings up a point. So during the end during the end of court, right after the court decided that the custody situation and child support, within a week they lose their job. Okay, and of course, they love to blame me and the ex-girlfriend, saying that we were the reason they lost a job. Whatever. With that, like, after that happened, obviously, they were supposed to start paying child support. So now I'm getting no child support because, they have no job. Cool. Next thing you know, it had to be 2 months later after the court told them to pay child support, they go and get the gender-affirming surgery, the big one. The bottom surgery. And mind you, I still have no child support, but somehow you're able to afford this surgery and you don't have a job. So I'm really trying to understand how this is of importance. Like, this is a priority. Mind you, you're talking he, him, name change, top surgery, bottom surgery within like 6 months. It was insanely fast. So it was just like, you care so much about transitioning and being a man that you would take food out of your son's mouth to look like one. I feel like if you have a responsibility like a child, some stuff you do have to wait for. And I get like body dysmorphia, not feeling like yourself, but let me tell you, if you have a child, guess what? If I wanted a boob job, if that's something that I really wanted, I do not get to go get a boob job and not pay my rent or not take care of my son. I would probably have to wait for that because that is not really a priority when you have a child. Your child is your priority. So this is all really random. And then to turn around and continuously have multiple children, the ex-girlfriend's child, my fiance's ex's child, because, left that out, during the divorce, my ex and my fiance's ex-wife link up. They're actively stalking us, and then they get together and they have a child as well, my fiance and my fiance's ex, and now they have that person that child calling them daddy too. So they lost their job and then moved in with my fiance's ex-wife. They pay no child support, they pay no medical support, they pay no health insurance, and they don't have a job. So they are bumming off of my fiance's ex. And it's crazy to me that any woman could allow any man to sit up in their house and just be a bum. So this situation is ongoing. Yes, I've served them. Everybody is involved that needs to be involved due to non-payment and everything else. But the concept of them being a man is a new concept. And the concept of them prioritizing everything else other than their child is a thing. So I don't think that they're a good parent. I don't think that they deserve all these grand titles that come with being a parent. And I do think it's absolutely ridiculous that, yeah, you would become a man and then become a shitty one. That is diabolical. And trust me, there's more to this story, and I do plan on telling it, but it is so much, and I know it can be really confusing, and sometimes I don't even know where to start. There is so much about this story that is crazy.
If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support. I want to clarify a few things, answer some questions that I saw, but I want to first say that it is important to kind of watch the story on my page if you have the time, because it does give a lot of background info, and it also helps kind of show what type of person that I'm dealing with. This is not your traditional person, so it is very interesting to watch. First off, this is not a trans issue. This is a shitty person issue, a shitty parent issue. As far as them being trans, is it fucked up that I ended up having to deal with a man after had married a woman? Yes. Sorry. No way to even explain it. I'm a lesbian. It's the wildest thing. With that being said, the big issue here is the way they went about their transition. Let me tell you something. When your transition affects my child's mental and physical well-being and safety, I have an issue with you as a parent, because when you have kids, they come first, period. You don't have a job and can't pay child support is one thing. You without a job and not paying child support, deciding to go do these very high-priced things, it's kind of a slap in the face to not me, but to my child. So when it comes down to it, not a trans issue. I don't care. I have an issue with the way it has and can continue to affect my son. Next point. I made a comment saying like they had multiple kids calling them daddy. So this is confusing. I am the bio mom with the donor sperm. They were on the birth certificate. So they are the parent of my son with me. The second child they had calling them daddy had parents, a set of parents, but he dated their mom. So kind of like a stepdad situation, except he had this kid calling him daddy real quick. The third kid I'm discussing is my fiance's child, because he, my ex lives with my fiance's ex. Yes, confusing, I know. The kid, my fiance's kid, started calling my ex daddy probably within the month. They are jumping around, and anytime they can get somebody to affirm them in some way, they do. And yeah, you're like, oh, how are they, 3 kids, they're not, they have nothing to do with the production of any of the kids. And to be fair, not even really mine, but that's neither here nor there because I paid for those surgeries. But whatever. Anywho, I go on to say that this person is a scammer, and I am one of 3 wives who has been scammed. I am one of many women that has been scammed, and I'm talking post-divorce, pre-divorce. And how do I know this? I've talked to these women. Like, we should damn near have a support group. Everybody got out of that situation because this person is a narcissist. So everybody came out of that situation really, really having to unlearn some very dangerous mental tactics. This is a manipulator. Let me tell you something. Do you know how it is to have to deal with a person like that? Man, woman, whatever. Having to deal with a person like that is my literal lore. This story will always, it just seems to be a continuating thing, and I'm sorry that it's so hard to grasp, and I am here to answer any questions because I am, as you guys can see, I will, if you ask a question respectfully, I will absolutely answer it respectfully because I am very much, I do want to show transparency in this situation. So yeah, that's that. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid.
If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support and live with my fiance's ex. That's a mouthful. If you haven't, I do have a story time that's like 1 through 8 with a few in between pieces in a playlist on top of my profile. But this is gonna be leaving off where that ended, which was around that February time frame because a lot of stuff has changed. If you haven't watched the story, I'm going to try and give as much background now so that way you could just kind of jump in because it is definitely, it's crazy regardless. Okay, so by popular demand, I made a board. Throughout the story, I'll try to show the board. Take note, it is confusing. And this screen is inverted, so it's kind of hard. All right, so this is me. I have one kid. I was pregnant with donor sperm. I at one point was married to Melissa. Melissa transitioned to Melvin. We divorced. On this side, we have Ashley, my fiance. She has one kid with Caroline. Caroline being pregnant and using donor sperm. They are divorced. Okay. Me and Ashley got together during the divorce, so that in itself was complicated. Okay, down here you see Melvin and Caroline, and you also see a little line that says Taurus. Taurus is important in the story. She was the ex-girlfriend who lived with Melvin during the front part of the divorce, and she has one kid with another parent, no relation in any way to Melvin. Neither is Caroline and Ashley's kid to Melvin. So Melvin and Caroline are now together. Okay, so this is the thing. Woo, sorry, that's a mouthful. Like I said, I'll refer to this as much as I can. So basically, I'll start at, first off, this is a very long divorce. I tried to be civil in the beginning. I filed with no lawyer. You take yours, I take mine. We have 50-50 custody of the kid. They went and got a lawyer for whatever reason, so I went and got one too. So basically, back and forth, but I'm still ready to sign. Just sign the papers. Like, I'm not winning anything. I'm not getting any money. Like, just leave me alone. You owe me a ton of money. Like, I'm never going to get that, so whatever. Like, just sign the papers and let's move on. It backfired that they didn't sign the papers because what happens is Melvin starts dating Taurus. Cool. Basically, I guess Melvin ends up breaking up with Taurus or vice versa, and then Taurus moves out. Taurus calls me. Taurus calls me and says, I know that you don't know what's going on, and I want to talk to you about it. Taurus basically tells me, first off, you need to be careful of Caroline because Caroline and Melvin have basically came together after they found out about you and Ashley and basically have stalked you and are doing everything in their power to just be nasty. Because Ashley was going through a divorce too. So just stalling tactics, trying to get information, just everything. Because at some point, Melvin and me were still sharing a household. Okay. When Taurus tells me everything, it just absolutely breaks me. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to hear in my life and do in my life. So at this point, still no signed paper. So I called my lawyer and said, we're going to court. My lawyer was like, well, we need to get Taurus on the stand. If you're going to do that, Taurus agrees. Perfect. My angel. So End up going to court. They ended up getting standard possession, which is me as the primary parent and them getting their a couple weekends a month. And cool. So basically a week after, and they were also at that time, they were court ordered child support, because that's just what it is. So the next week they lose their job. So they should have started paying child support based on what the judge said. But of course, they refused to sign the paper. Why does Melvin refuse? He's refusing because he wants to change the schedule to change the schedule. Let me tell you why that's a problem and why, it was a back and forth situation. Because these two kids were on the same schedule. So they were both with me and Ashley. And, we had a schedule that worked. Always was on this schedule. So these kids have bonded and have a relationship. But Melvin, which I think is strategic, refused to sign because now Melvin is trying really hard to split these kids. And Caroline tried to do that in the beginning too. So no one cares about these kids' mental and how frustrating that is and how confusing it is. So obviously I'm going to court because I'm like, this is messed up. You should not separate kids. They have a relationship. So boom, get to court. Honestly, my judge was over it. Was just like, listen, give Melvin the schedule they want. I don't care. Like, sometimes the court system is not gracious. Cool. I'm pissed. I'm livid because this is once again really tough on my child. Because let me be clear, my child was told to call Taurus mommy, was told to call, going on with Melvin being daddy, and now my son is calling Caroline mommy. So, and then you separate the kids. So now it's just this shitty situation. Boom. So they now from the time frame that the original divorce happened, like where they refused to sign, was from October to February. That means that during that time, the attorney general couldn't enforce child support because you have to upload your signed decree to do that. So basically this whole entire time frame, they don't even get any disciplinary action for not paying any money. So February, like I said, the court decides on Melvin's schedule, and I'm able to upload the paperwork to the attorney general system to be able to start managing child support. Okay, so mind you, like I said, October to February, no child support. In December, basically, I don't know what happened and whether or not this was the time of some type of surgery, but this was the year that they get my son for Christmas. Okay? This whole entire time frame during Christmas, they were not allowing me to talk to my son. I didn't even get to talk to my son on Christmas, which is really hard for me. But based off of what the kid said, there was a huge surgical factor to this. Them going to visit Melvin in the hospital and Melvin having specific bandaging. Kids are going to tell it. So I'm a little frustrated because in my head, I'm like, if you did get a surgery, you didn't have a job, and you weren't paying child support, and then the audacity to not even let me speak to my child, now you're, once again, fucking with my child's mental, because now he's not speaking to his mother on Christmas. Like, I've never been away from my son. On Christmas? Come on. So, after that, what happens? So, during this whole entire time, Caroline is harassing Ashley. Basically, Caroline and Melvin have been harassing me and my fiance for this whole entire time. And to be fair, Caroline still does. During this time frame, Melvin, so basically right after they put, Taurus left the house, which was around that, July, August time frame, Melvin basically moved in with Caroline. And they were, kind of obvious about it, because they even showed up to court with Caroline. So they had just broken up with Taurus and then moved in with Caroline. So my child is going from calling Taurus mommy to calling Caroline mommy within a span of 2 months. within a span of 2 months. And that's just the beginning of what I'm about to say. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support and live with my fiance.
We are no longer new here. We here.
Okay. There's a playlist at the top of my profile.
We in this thing.
I married. If you want to start from the beginning, if not, here we go. So yesterday I left off with Melvin and Caroline live together. So Melvin and Caroline are the exes of me and my fiance, Ashley. Melvin and Caroline got together during both of our divorces, and basically to feed back information to one another. And yeah, now they are together, I guess. Cool. So they're living together. We knew they were living together, although Melvin tried to conceal their address for months and months and months and months. Pretty much any identifying information Melvin tried to conceal. Obviously against a court order, so had to deal with that as well. Anyways, so at this point, the weekend schedule, we're fighting back and forth about the weekend schedule. Because I'm the primary parent, so I have my son throughout the weeks and all that good stuff. But the few weeks, during the month, they get a few weekends or whatever. So there's like the standard one, which I think is like 1, 3, 5. And then the schedule that my kid was on for weekends originally was every other, to match with my fiance's weekend schedule. Because Caroline is the primary parent of their kid. So it's literally a fucking swap. So we were like, just keep the kids on the same schedule. Like, fuck all this bullshit. Keep them on the same schedule. I literally tried so hard that I told Melvin, from October to February, I will literally waive all your child support for those months that you owe me if you just keep the kids on the same weekend schedule. Nope, they said no. Cool. So we end up in court in February, and we get in front of the judge, and the judge is basically like, hey man, throw this man a bone. He already lost, primary custody. We might as well just let him have the fucking schedule. Let him have the fucking weekends. Okay, but I'm hot. I'm pissed. And I didn't know this, but when you're in court and you have a lawyer, you cannot speak to the judge unless the judge speaks directly to you. So I'm like, wait. Hey, you about to split 2 kids? I'm super upset. And everyone's like, shh, no, don't say anything. And I'm like, I'm looking at my lawyer like, girl, stand up, do something. Because this is wild to me. So I'm pissed, I'm hot, legs shaking, and at this point my lawyer is up at the podium with Melvin, and they're signing the decree, because now the judge is like, you gonna sign this in front of my face, because there's no reason that it should have not been signed for almost 5 months. Anyways, so I'm pissed. So Melvin comes down to walk through the pews. Ashley's with me, she's in the back in the pews. And so as Melvin is passing me, I'm like, I'm gonna get you. Because at this point, I'm like, okay, you want to play these little nasty games? We about to get real specific. This little idiot turns around to the judge and goes, did you hear her say that she's going to get me? And the judge is like, rolls his eyes, because the judge rolls his eyes and he's like, man, I'll put both of y'all in contempt. And at this point, I don't even hear the judge. I'm like, whatever. So I get up and I'm walking too. Ashley's getting up, but once I got in the hallway, Ashley heard the judge say like, oh, y'all need to go get the security out there probably. So I'm in the hallway, I'm yelling, because I'm like, you owe me child support. You need to make sure you understand stuff, because like I said, Melvin likes to play stupid on purpose. Like Melvin will be like, oh, I didn't know that I had to do that. Oh no, woe is me. And it's just like, no, you're pretending not to know how to read so you can play stupid. So anyways, I'm in the hallway, I'm yelling. And the security guard comes up to me and she's like, are you good? Do you need anything? And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, no, lady, I just need to get out of here. So I'm with Ashley. Ashley's like, Brittany, calm down. Brittany, calm down. We get on the elevator. We go downstairs in the courthouse because my lawyer had to file some paperwork. So I get the paperwork, or no, she's filing the paperwork. I'm in the hallway because I'm trying to calm down. And so Ashley's trying to calm me down. Melvin walks by and I'm like, you a bitch. I said that shit loud in the courthouse. Here goes this little fucking baby. There's like a little admin desk or whatever. Did you hear her call me a bitch? Do you guys have cameras here? Or will you sign a statement saying that she called me a bitch? And like, it's not illegal to call anybody a bitch. And I'm just like, please grow up. Be a man. Like, chill. So at this point, I'm mad. I don't even know. So Ashley, she's such a stand-up woman. So she's like, so Melvin leaves. So Ashley's like, I'm going to go. So she didn't tell me she was going to go do this, but she went and talked to Melvin. So she sees Melvin and she's like, hey man, like, you have to understand Brittany's frustration. You know, like, you have not given her any child support. Like, you don't communicate with her. You don't let her, when her son is with you, you don't even let her talk to him. Like, you're just being really nasty. And Melvin was like, I have the child support. The reason I didn't give it is because they told me if I gave her the child support that it would be considered a gift before today because of because we needed to sign this paper, which is not true, by the way. Actually, Ashley was like, literally, I'm on child support because Ashley chose that. I'm on child support, and that's not what they say. That's absolutely false, actually. And what's crazy is Melvin lives with Caroline. And Ashley pays Caroline child support. And guess what? If Ashley missed a payment of child support with Caroline, there'd probably be a warrant out for Ashley's arrest. So they know how important it is to pay child support. That household knows how important it is to pay child support. Now, here's me. Melvin owes me child support and is supposed to pay it, and I have $0.00. Okay? So Ashley knows what she's talking about. Cool. So Ashley's like, listen, man, you just need to whatever. So I don't know how, I wasn't there for the conversation, but Ashley said that also Melvin had said something like, because Ashley was like, I guess you're with my ex. That means you're around my daughter. And, with that being said, like, is that what it is? Because I'm not getting a clear answer. And if this is something that's happening, I need to understand. Do you know this fool Melvin said something along the lines of, oh, well, if your daughter needs a father figure, then I'm going to step up and be that. Like a bunch of shit. And Ashley, like I said, very calm, upstanding woman was like, all right, bro. Like, okay. You know what? Like, you just need to do what you need to do and give Brittany this child support. And you know what I mean? Like, you're a fucked up person. Basically, that was the gist of it. So after that day, or during that day, I was mad. Oof, I was so mad. Like, and I'm a Gemini, so you go low, I'll take you to hell. Like, and I mean that. Anyways, so after that happens, basically funny, actually, as that is all taking place, mind you, Caroline and Melvin at this point are dating, right? They're dating. They live in the same house. One of them gets child support and one of them is not paying child support, right? So their household is getting child support in, but their household is paying no child support out. So my fiance is paying child support to Caroline and Melvin lives with Caroline. Now, what do y'all think that means? That means that there's a good chance that Ashley's money is being used to fund homeless, jobless Melvin. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. Okay, gonna answer to this comment. I'm gonna try and make it as quick and seamless as possible. Okay, so when me and my fiance Ashley started dating, we dated during both of our divorces. My divorce took 2 years, her divorce.
If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child. Whose baby is it? And, why do they pay child support? Why can't you just walk away with your kids? So I wanted to go ahead and answer it. And I'm going to say this. I am going to refer to Melissa as they were in the story, because when I change it up, and it makes it really hard to understand. Okay, so when me and Melissa were engaged, we did IUI, intrauterine insemination. That means that I was inseminated with donor sperm. So I was pregnant with my baby plus donor sperm. Okay? Ended up getting married when I was about 6 months pregnant. And Melissa signed the birth certificate. Okay? I thought that in order for Melissa to have the same parental rights as me, since I was the biological parent, that they had to adopt the child as well. Turns out, not true here in Texas. Here in Texas, if you sign the birth certificate, since Melissa signed the birth certificate, she is given just as much parental right as I am. So 50-50. So initially that was what I was doing until everything found out, and then everything happened, and then I took who is now Melvin to court for custody, and then I was able to get it down to one of the like standard possession custody, so that I was the primary parent. So then people started asking about like, oh, well, so that's why I can't just take my kid and run, because that apparently you can't do that here. And so then even with everything that happened, like they still gave them some custody or whatever and child support. So everyone's like, well, if they don't pay child support, like can't you just dip, like can't you just terminate parental rights? No, in Texas, even if you don't pay child support, I cannot use non-payment of child support to keep the child away from Melvin. Like by law, you are not allowed to, they do not associate child support with visitation. They think that is what it is. I won't get into what I think and what they think. I can only tell you about what it is. And so basically, yes, I do
She
agree
was about
with
to
a
go
lot of
into
the
that
things
women
I'm
logic.
saying about,
Keeping the kid away from the baby
like, of
daddy.
course, I'm going to always keep trying to do everything that I can to protect my baby. But, a lot of lawyers don't want to touch it. It is kind of a hard thing to kind of, to swallow. So I do think that the court system kind of doesn't care, because they're like, I don't even want to sit down and read this because this is crazy. They're just like, listen, you signed the birth certificate. There you go. Deal with it. So that's basically been, or sort of explains why things. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support. Shit that like no one is there for, and the judge gets so confused. So Melvin kept trying to say, oh, well, I have a harassment claim out on Brittany. First off, I just want to state that every time Melvin gets the chance, they go to the cops to try and file harassment.
Alright, I'm over this crap. I ain't gonna lie. Let's get to Melvin. See what this Negro have to say. Okay.
Where people's critiques have you changing what you doing so much that it.
Melvin sound like he lying.
What up, good people? Today I just wanted to remind you that growth is continuous, especially when you set very specific goals. Like you'll never stop growing, and some of the growing, it hurts. That's why they call it growing pains. But the beauty in the growing pains is it's working when you start feeling the pain. We all know growing isn't easy, because if it was, everybody.
This nigga sound like he hit the women up with Grand Rising Queen. Grand Rising Queen. Look at that. See, man, Melvin is a real Negro.
Do it. But you taking the time to make sure you're growing means something. It means you care about yourself. It means you care about your well-being. You care about the people around you. You care about your kids. I take every opportunity I can to grow. And the journey thus far has been beautiful. The only thing I wish was different is me understanding the growth cycle a lot sooner. But factoring where I am now versus where I've been, where I come from, I say it's been one hell of a journey, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. If you work today, let's get this bread. If you off today, be productive. Let's go.
Man, Melvin look like he about to tell you I can fix on your car and then run off with your money. He is tripping.
We in my what up, good people? Today I just wanted to say, man, lock in. Protect yourself and lock in. The moment you start to deviate from your plan, think about this audio. Think about this video. He said lock in. The distraction's gonna be there. The disappointment gonna be there. The happiness gonna be there. The joy gonna be there. The love gonna be there. The haters gonna be there. You know where you gonna be if you don't lock in, though? Wishing you had locked the fuck in. Wishing you ain't get distracted. Wishing you would have done things differently. And honestly, all that's cool. Sometimes you gotta wish. But put some action.
Is Melvin eyes
actually
open?
Grow through that. Actually make something shake. Lock in. If you work today, let's get this.
Melvin lying to us, dog.
Let's go. Last night, one of my homies hit me up like, damn, bro, I just need to talk. I was like, cool, give me 5. Put on a shirt, got on the FaceTime. What's good? He started venting, and the gist of it was basically like, yo, I feel like every time I get through one thing, another thing pops up. course, I'm like, yo, that's valid. You valid. How you feel? That shit out. Get it off your chest. When he done, I'm like, yeah. The beauty in that though, bro, is let it all get out the way. It rains, it pours, so it seems like everything is happening at once, and that's because it is. Let it. Let it. Sometimes in tough situations don't last. Tough people do. Grow through it. Learn from it. Pivot. Redirect your journey how you see fit. It's hard, I know. It's hard. But for me,
That's how Brittany got caught up. Melvin lying to us. Melvin lying to us. Boy, I ain't gonna let Melvin lie to me no more. I'm over this damn story. Melvin, you's a liar. Hell no, squinting your eyes and yeah, baby, you know what I'm saying? Grand Rising Queen. Hey, check this out. I bought you that ring. You think you can get me that round 1500 truck? Looking ass. What the fuck? How is that a trade-off, nigga? You put me in debt? When you paid $1,200 for this ring and you want me to buy you a $50,000 truck, are you smoking? And she did. She actually signed for a goof ass. Okay, what is wrong with these people? I mean, Lord have mercy. Now I've been lied to a time or two in my day, but nothing like this. Nigga, Melvin got me ready to. Okay, Melvin, fuck, I'll buy you. I sign my name on the truck. Just squint at me one more time and tell me some positive message. Melvin used to walk up, grand rising, Brittany. You are the most beautiful and gracious woman that I've. You want to get married? Want to have a baby? Man, what the fuck? I just met you 2 weeks ago. We could do it. We could do it together. I signed the birth certificate. Got her ass real quick. Did that. Then turned around and did that to Taurus. Got Taurus ass pregnant. Ashley, if y'all want to see Ashley, I'm going to show y'all Ashley. Let me show y'all Ashley. Because Ashley a grand rising queen too. That's Ashley. You can't really see. I mean, but Ashley's a woman though. But like the man or the woman. Brittany ain't a bad looking girl at all, whatsoever. It was one. I seen a video of both of them. I guess it's there. They go. You know. I mean, Ashley ain't like womanly. I mean, I guess she is, but like. She not transitioning, should I say. She not transitioning, but she definitely like the man in the whole thing. So it is what it is. Can we sussle? Alright, anyway. Melvin Page, look for a picture of Melissa. Melvin is a player. He ain't putting no women on his page, cuz. Melvin's a certified cheater. I'm a dog, I'm a mutt looking ass. That's Melvin's song. Boy, Melvin ain't a hoe. Shit. Melvin ain't stunting these women. Not one single picture. Not even an inkling of the kid, my dude. Not even the kid can get a spot. Not even the kid can get a cameo on Melvin Page. Melvin ain't playing with these women. Certified lover boy. Melvin. A.K.A. Melissa. A.K.A. whatever the baby want to call him. Oh, there go a picture. Be alive. Let me get the headshot of the baby. Hey, okay, there you go. There you have it. Melvin, the first openly gay deadbeat step dad who transitioned, I guess. I don't Alright, everyday people, man, I gotta get off because, man, I gotta, oh, man, if y'all watch this video in the morning, I promise y'all gonna be like, what the, hey, I promise y'all, y'all gonna have a big what the F moment. Y'all gonna be like, PJ, what do you have you watching? I mean, if this ain't the worst, okay? Tomorrow will be absolutely the worst. Okay? I promise y'all, you won't want to miss what I have in store for y'all tomorrow. So tune in. And we're going back live again. I was going to go live tonight about a different story. So I would go live on it tomorrow, but I think it would be best if I just get it out the way, because there's so much going on that I want to make sure I do it right, because I don't want to do it wrong. Because if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. That's what Melvin wake up and sing that to his That's how he got Brittany. Boy, Brittany, stand for something or you'll fall for anything with your looking ass. Anyway, everyday people, man. Woo! Like, comment, and subscribe on y'all's way out of here. And I'll see y'all in the AM. Holla at you later.